Um, I am seeing other faces, but I think I shouldn't be the speakers because I feel like you guys are all my mentors. You guys really inspire me. I think for the past 3 years ago when I was trying to run for it, and I would see Jack, and your wife, and Burke, and April, and so thank you so much, and it's because of all of you that I'm here. I'm very, very fortunate. I just gonna give you a little bit of history about myself so you guys know where I'm coming from. I moved in Arcadia about 2.5 decades ago, and I used to live on the south side. And then after I have my 4 kids, and I think the north side is quieter, and so I saved up more money and purchased a home and live in the Upper Rancho Estates. And I live there and so happy, and all my neighbors love me, and they elected me to be the president of the HOA. And so being the president of my HOA, I've learned so much. I learned about people, and I've learned how to be more empathetic, and also to really understand how to give back. And so the past 10 years in the association, I met great people, a lot of people, and that's how I met April Villado and Tom Beck. And I think you guys all know these names. And so Tom Beck, in 2022 turned out, and he was in my district, District 2, and then he approached me and asked that if I could please get on the ballot and run for city council. As you know, I am just, a small business owner, a mother of 4, and a housewife. And so I don't know politics that much, but I just have a voice of like a resident, a constituent, the things that I want in my neighborhood. And because of the experience that I have in the HOA, so I know a little bit about the city, because some of the issues that we want the city to help us to address and get solutions for. And so that's how it come into about for me to understand all the dynamics of the city. And so that's what it is. And so yeah, I got on the ballot, and I didn't know it was that difficult. It was my campaign. It was I didn't know much like what I was getting into, but now I think that I was so lucky I got elected. I think I got a lot of the trust from my constituents, and so that's where I came from. This is a little bit about my background, so you know who I am. And now, after I got into city council, it's been now 2.5 years, and I think all the people here now, you guys all understand City of Arcadia, and you guys know a lot of the issues that we have. But one of the issues that I really want to talk about that it has been quiet and for a while is the homelessness issue. As you know, City of Arcadia, we have a population of almost like 60% of Asian. And then back then, we want to have a no camping ordinance, we must have a shelter for them to enforce that. I think that was from the verdict of Martin versus Boise. And so, and then our former mayor, April Villado, wanted to make sure that we have that safety. She, brought the idea of having tiny shelter. And so it became, very controversial. And so, every time when people hear tiny shelter in Arcadia, people are just very frightened because they feel like, my home price value is going to go down, and it's going to be more, or we're going to attract more homelessness. And so there's a lot of things that, I think it's not facts, but it's just these things that they believe in. And so city council never want to bring the topic anymore. It's been so sensitive and emotional every time we talk about it. But today, actually, there's a lot of good news, and I think it's because of the state has changed on this issue, and also our president, Donald Trump, has also signed the executive order where now we can enforce no camping ordinance, you know, and the things that we've been very compassionate about is to help these people when they're experiencing that. But as you know, that City of Arcadia, we put in millions of dollars every year to try to address, but we don't have a very effective plan, and it's not been effective. And you still drive around, you still see people are on the streets, you know. And so with that executive order, and also with the state right now, we actually can be, you know, enforcing no camping ordinance, you know, and we can actually say, no, you cannot stay here. At this moment, City of Arcadia, we do have some restrictions. It's not completely banning, but it's just saying that you can camp here. You cannot camp here during the night from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You cannot camp, but after that, you can camp. And so we still are not completely like enforcing no camping, but it's just we've been very lenient on that. And so what I want to do is that since we've been pouring so much resources in it, and people, you know, we tell them to go away and they come back during the night, and in the morning they're there, and then we have to tell them to go away again. So I mean, it's not been effective. So what I really want to do is bring it up to City Council to have a no encampment at all, so that, you know, we just discourage people to come here, because if they come here, we will basically send them to the institutions, like, you know, if they have mental struggles or if they have drug abuse, because now it's not a volunteer base. You know, we can just put them in there, and then they have to seek help, and then we can, and then after that, then we can address housing for them. So I think it's the state, you know, has been in our favor, you know, with these laws, and so I really think that we should revisit this topic and bring it up, and you know, maybe come up with a ordinance that really just ban you know, camping. So I think that would be good. So I think this is one of the things that I want to talk about, that I want to bring up into City Council, and hope that, you know, we can get some support from the community on that. And so, I was talking to some of you, and you guys heard about the headline news about the surrogacy, you know, and there is a family in Arcadia. They have 21 children, and it's through surrogacy, you know, and it's happening in City of Arcadia. And so a lot of questions are being asked. I myself try to find out answers. I've called, you know, I've talked to our police chief and our city manager, but as of right now, because it is under investigation by the FBI, so a lot of the information they cannot disclose to me. But how much I know is pretty much is how much you know from the headline news as well. And so, but for me, I've been thinking about it. Like, there's been a lot of things that's happening in people's houses that we don't know. And how do we go about preventing things like that to happen? I think the effective way to have is, like with these kind of things, you have your home privacy. It's your neighbors. I think Neighborhood Watch is very effective. If you live on the north side of Arcadia, we have Neighborhood Watch. And let me tell you about my story. You know, how effective it is. There was one home that I bought in my nearby house, and I wanted to, you know, maybe review another home and move into. But after I bought it, it was vacant for a while, and until I know what I want to do with the plans and things like that. But during that time, when it was vacant, squatters move in, you know, and I didn't know about it because I don't live in that house. I have another house, but it's in the same area. And so, and I didn't know, and the squatters, what they did was they actually got electricity, gas, water, and the whole family moved in. And they moved a senior person that requires assistance, like with a wheelchair. And then they also brought someone that is like an infant in the house. And so they were living there. It looks like a normal family. And so I didn't know this. They were squatters, but the next door neighbor called me and said that they tried to reach me. They didn't have my phone number, so they called the police. And then the police said, okay, these are the people who own the home, so you can call them. So they call me, and I answer the phone, and they said, well, Sharon, you need to know that there's people living in your house, and it doesn't seem like they're like your family members because obviously you're not Afro-American. And so I said, oh yeah, and so I went there and see it, and I found the mails in the mailbox, and the people in there, and then I called the police officers, and I said, look, they're squatters. And then when the police came and knocked the doors, and then they came out, they said, no, I leased this home through a agency in the website. And so I'm legit, I can live in this house. But those were all fabricated, I didn't authorize that because I own the home. And so, and police, they couldn't do anything because they showed proof that they have a lease agreement, and they've been living there for 3 weeks. And so I had to hire a private security guard to go in and move them out, and then they would move back, and I have to have 3 shifts of private security guard to go back in there to enforce that. And so that was very costly, and it was very mind-boggling for me, and you can see like there's a lot of things that happen like that. And so thank God it was my neighbor that alerted me, because by law at that time, if they lived there more than 30 days, especially with a senior and with an infant, you cannot vacate them. And so that is what it is. And so I think I was telling everyone, I said, neighborhood watch is very important because your neighbor knows the activities that's going around it. And so if you see something, you say something. I mean, that's the only prevention you have, because we don't have police officers going every house and knocking the doors and find out if they're all doing something illegal, and are these preventable? It's not, because when people are doing these they have their mastermind. They know how to get away, and so I mean the only thing you get is your neighbor, like you watch them and you see the activities going on in that home, and you notice something suspicious, and then you report them, and then let the police officer to go in to find out. And I think that's the best way. And this one is so fortunate is because we're able to find out, because the infant was sent to the hospital, and then they found out there was like trauma, and with the kid, and then they suspect that there was like child abuse, and then they got into, and then they dig into, and they found out that they have 21 kids, and there were 15 kids in the house. And so this is how, I think like when it comes to crimes like that, it's hard to detect, but your neighbor is really a way to do it, And so there's a lot of things that I want to do as a mayor. Sometimes our hands are pretty much handcuffed, but it requires a lot of manpower, like the community coming together, staying engaged, and keeping the safety here. This is what it is that is going on. And I know that a lot of my friends here, I call you my friends, and you guys have any questions for me, I want this not to be formal. I want it to be very engaging and very conversational. And so anybody have anything to say, any input, that you want to add? I know April has a lot because she's very into, and she knows a lot. She has a lot of history with us. Yes, please.
How do you encourage trust between people?
Encourage
trust.
Trust.
Because when when you are engaging neighbors to be distrustful, that can branch out and eat you just as well as the distrust that you're trying to work against. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
And we, if you look at it from a family perspective, we don't have trust with a family. We've got a fairly good sized family ourselves. We don't have any way we can accomplish anything. So I think trust is a very, and the words we use to define trust, they've taken out of the fact, they've taken now that you cannot be on a corner to make money. What's wrong with making money on a corner? What's wrong with gathering coins and then distributing them out? That's all you're doing. That's all a newspaper boy used to do.
Yes.
You know, I know there can be accidents. Let's leave all
Yes.
that out. Just
Yes.
take an isolated incident. So, to say, if we would put ourselves in that same incident and say, now how would I work my way out? You might find some other answers. I'm not saying you're wrong. Don't get me wrong. But gives a broader base to what you're doing.
Yes.
And you can tell from my hair, I have been around here a while.
Yes.
And I've lived in the same home almost all these years.
Yes, yes.
So
So let me address first with trust.
So that'll
Yes.
be quiet.
You know, I think a lot of families, so I'm speaking, you know, about me, like about, you know, as you were saying, you own your home for many years. You know, City of Arcadia is really a community of homes, you know. We invest our life savings into the home, and we wanted to have a place where we can stay there and also retire. I'm planning to retire in Arcadia too. And so I think it's because everybody put, you know, a lot of their savings in it. And the neighbors that lives around it, I am pretty sure that our values are very similar.
That's
you know,
right.
I
That's
moved
right.
here because I wanted to raise my family.
Right.
I wanted safety, and I wanted a good like school system, the educational part, you know. And these are very similar values. These are not just values of Republicans, but these are just families. If you have families, that's your value. And so, like, what I did was when I moved into my neighborhood, I can tell you, I had the meanest neighbor. He was a very grumpy man, and always looked at me and like, I don't like you. Why did you move here? You know, you have kids and you guys are noisy. But I took the initiative to, you know, go explain myself and to, I take the initiative to be nice. I think that's the most important thing, because sometimes when people are not nice to you and then you react the same way, you will never get a friendship out of it. And so we have to really be kinder, you know, and maybe understand why they are the way they are, and try to, you know, be more, empathetic to the situation. And so I, you know,
You have
I
to
would
know how to
bake-
make a profit.
Yeah, I would
I
bake.
mean out of the group,
Yes,
you have to understand, what does a profit mean to you?
yes,
It has different values to different people,
yes.
but it's
yes,
how you use that is what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Because it's
So
very-
you're saying it's profit?
Huh?
You saying making the
Not profit in the sense of money,
Yes, yes.
but our friendship is a profit.
Yes, yes, it is, it is.
Is it not?
Yeah, do you bring values to your
That's
neighbor?
what I'm trying.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
I go back to days which I had a friend who spoke perfect English,
Yes,
and he worked with a fellow that was from Yugoslavia or place. His
Yes.
slung never got it out right, and those two would fight constantly because of that reason alone. And one went back to Germany, and the other one just kept on being the way he was. But they weren't learning how to build a profit between the two of them.
yes.
And us who were outsiders looking in, we couldn't get our work done.
Yes.
That's what we were being paid to do. So
Yes.
I'm probably talking around in circles. But
Yes, yes.
But-
Yes, go ahead, April, yes.
Yeah, how about you tell us about the city's budget, Arcadia's budget?
Oh,
How's
yes,
that doing?
okay, so, when April was in city council, she left us with $9 million surplus. And that also that current year that you're leaving, your last year, we have to go through labor negotiation. And so, unfortunately, I really tell you, the majority of the city councils approved a deficit budget. We were giving a lot of raises to the fire department and the police department. And now with the numbers ending for the year 2024, our expenditure for that part went up to 21%. And that is like a $10 million increase. And so think about that. That just alone wipe out the $9 million surplus that we have. And so for the forecast, the projected for the 25 this year, the increase of that expenditure, that 21% goes up to another 8%. So we all, like many other cities, I think what happened is that when you have city council members who are being too generous, or they're not just careful with budgeting, they have no budgeted stewardship, they just give to whatever the unions demand, and then we end up suffering. And I think there's a lot of cities out there, I have to say, that's what they did, and then they've got into a huge deficit, and it's very hard to really amend. And I'm looking at our budget. Former Mayor April Velardo and I, because of my financial background, I scrutinize it, and we always, make sure that we bring it to the attention that, we don't have that much money to spend. We have to be very, I guess really, we need to be very careful of how much we're gonna spend again.
How do you
Because
use it?
at the end, if we overspend, we're gonna end up burdening our residents, is that you guys end up have to pay higher taxes, sales taxes, property taxes. So it's very difficult when you have city council members that they have different outlook on this. And so that's the strongest disagreement that I have right now with city council. When it comes to budget, I voice it because I want transparency. I want the residents to know what are we approving and how we're going forward, and and there should be more accountability. But it's been a lot of disagreement, and so I am a fighter. I've been on city council, and I've been always talking about it. Like I've been asking questions, and the reason why I'm asking questions is because I want to ask on your behalf, so that you have a clear picture of what's going on with our budget. And I feel like, as a mayor and even in city council, the most important duty that we have is doing budgeting, because that's the most important part. If you have a good financial situation, you can afford a lot of things, and then that can provide, public safety, and all other, recreational things that we have, and also public events. So I mean, yes, money is an issue. I mean, it's hard because when you have candidates where they make promises, during their campaign, or they have to fulfill, and so they just are blindsided, or they even do it with the intent. So I mean, I'm a fighter, so that's why when I was running my campaign, I didn't accept a single dollar from anyone, because I don't want to be beholden to anyone. I want to be independent, and I want to be able to speak up and not have an obligation to any special interest group, and let them tell me what to do. And so I've been very strong on that. And so I think with me now as mayor is because I always question the money, that where is it going to, and how it's been spent, and how much we spent. And I think there's more awareness, and also I think when they vote on things, they know that I'm gonna say something, so maybe they should consider the consequences that's gonna be for our residents. And so I've been taking that very seriously, and that is actually one of the obstacles right now that I'm going through city council. Yeah. And yes, say yes.
Gotta get going here.
Oh yes, okay, thank you so much. I just have so much to talk, but that's it, you know. Thank you so much for the question, and thank you for being here.
I'll ask you a few
and
questions
getting
later.
to know me, and thank you for coming from Temple City, and thank you so much. And thank you for meeting your mayor. Thank you. I really appreciate, yeah. And I'm always here, so if I didn't answer your questions, you can just come to approach me and ask me, you know, right out. You know, I'm pretty casual, and I like that. You know, I like that interaction with all my residents. You know, thank you so much.